Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Hardscape Growth Show. I'm your host Alex from TechnoBlock, and today we're joined by Jeremy Swihart from J Squared Outdoor. I'm really excited about this episode because we're going to be talking about excavation. It's the number one place where hardscapers lose money, either because they over excavate or they under excavate. And this guy's got to figure it out. We're going to talk about equipment, we're going to talk about software, and we're going to talk about his general approach to acquiring equipment and integrating into his business. So let's get started. So, yeah, basically, well, nice to meet you. I mean,
Yeah, you too.
we never met before. I was talking with Greg a little bit about you, and he was all excited that we were going to be doing this.
Oh yeah.
Um, you know, I was just telling John before you got on, I'm super excited about this episode because um, excavation seems to be a real sensitive subject for a lot of people uh, in the industry, because a lot of people have very strong opinions on equipment, very strong opinions on techniques, very strong opinions on doing things by eye versus doing things with lasers versus doing things with transits and whatever. Like there's so many different ways to do it, but at the end of the day, the most important thing is to make sure that the excavation is done as precisely as possible so that you don't have too much wasted time or resources, and you're not running up your bill unexpectedly for extra materials or trips to the dump or anything like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Being efficient. It's all about efficiency.
That's it. So basically, I was on Instagram, as I often am, and came across some of your posts last year where you had that Encon
Yeah.
list on your boom, and basically I got like lost in the world of all your posts, and was just like having a great time watching all that stuff
Yeah.
and being like, man, this is probably one of the most accurate views from the cab of
Yeah.
all the things you could be doing from the machine if you stopped and thought about like what you need to do on the job site. So that's kind of why I wanted to have you on the show. Plus, I really like your taste in music with all the posts. So
Right.
that's
You can't the reel is like 90% about the music, man.
yeah,
That's
man,
that's what people
absolutely.
don't realize.
Yeah. So that's it. Basically, I wanted to have you on the show there, Jeremy.
Cool. Well, happy to be here. Appreciate the invite.
So basically, you know, today's show, what I wanted to talk about was kind of a little bit about your company, just to know, like, contextually, how important is this excavation conversation to your business, like the choices you make in machines and everything. Understand kind of like the scope of your business, how many projects you do, how big overall it is, so that people listening can kind of compare and gauge themselves, like where they are versus where you are. Are they bigger, the same size? Are they smaller? And then, hopefully, like we try to do with every show, is just kind of pull out some little nuggets of information that can be good advice to other hardscapers so that they can be more successful too.
Sure.
So why don't we start with that and just kind of a little bit about you and how you got started in the business and what your company's all about.
Yeah. I am 34 years old. I think I've been doing this stuff since I was like 16. Started mowing grass in high school, like everybody else, and then had a little business. Then decided I really liked the horticulture and all that kind of stuff. Went down to the University of Cincinnati, got a degree in horticulture there, and started working for other landscapers, and eventually started my own business. It was about 6 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago now that I started my own business. But yeah, I really enjoyed the design build, the landscape, just creating stuff out of nothing, the hardscape, all that kind of stuff. And we run a pretty lean operation with guys. Last year we had 4 guys in the field plus myself, and then this year we'll have 5 guys in the field plus myself. Do about Last year we did about 2 million, a little under 2 million. This year we might do like 2.5. We'll see. Um, try to keep it tight. Our goal is to have like the smallest company, but do the most amount of work with the smallest amount of people. So that's
Yeah.
where all this technology of Encons and excavators and Trimble and all that kind of stuff comes into play. Is we're basically just trying to eliminate people as much as we can, the labor aspect,
Yeah.
and make life easier for everybody that works here, um, and make it a fun place to work too. But also just keep the labor. That's your biggest cost. is labor, and it's the hardest to manage. So I'm trying to keep that as tight as possible with all this.
When you say that you're trying to like eliminate the people, is that more like eliminate the dependency on adding people to grow the business? Is that kind of what you mean by
Yeah, yeah.
that?
Obviously, you can't have a business without people, but you want to have as few people as possible to make it happen.
Hmm.
So that's what we're trying to do there. And yeah, you don't want to be dependent on labor. I mean, people call off, they don't show up. I've got really good guys that work for me, and they're very dependable, but they're very difficult to find and they're expensive. So
Yeah,
it's hard to it's hard to go back to having a bunch of kids that you pay $15 an hour when you've had good guys. Going back to that life, I can't stand it. So I'm trying to just stick to the good guys and pay them more money and just have a few of them that are really good.
that's it.
So
So when you, so at what point did that kind of click in your head where, because you said you've been running the business for a few years now, was that always like your vision from the beginning, or was it a gradual evolution of things?
um, I think I realized that probably my second year in.
Yeah.
I think about 2 years in, I had all these guys. I would hire high school kids and kids that were fresh out of college and stuff like that, and they had no clue what they were doing. I figured I'd pay them $15 an hour and tell them what to do, and things would just happen.
Yeah.
And it was just a turn and burn of guys coming in, leaving, jobs not getting finished right, callbacks, that sort of thing. So I realized pretty quick that we needed to tighten up, and we've kind of been focused on that equipment stuff. I've always been like kind of into tools and having nice tools and stuff like that. I wasn't really into the equipment before I started my business, but I've learned about all that stuff over the last 5 6 years. So gotten quite the collection now.
Yeah. I was seeing that. So you have today you have well, why don't you tell us instead of me trying to guess from what I seen on Instagram? Why don't you
Yeah.
tell us what you're set up with?
So we've got, let's see, from the truck standpoint, our crew trucks are all single axle, medium duty dump trucks, anywhere from 25K to 33K GVW trucks. We've got one semi trucks and six of the single axle trucks. That's what we kind of do most of our work with is the single axle trucks.
Okay.
And trailers to pull equipment and stuff like that. Got a few skid steers, mini skid steer, three excavators of various sizes, buggies. Um, what else? I think that's about it. So then, obviously all the other hardscape tools and smaller equipment, compactors and stuff. But
Hmm.
the big things that do the heavy lifting are the big skid steers, the mini skid steer, and the excavators.
Yeah.
Those are what we're using that day in and day out. Basically, an excavator and a skid steer makes a crew. So an excavator and skid steer go out to the job, and a buggy possibly, and that's kind of our crew setup. And a couple single axle dump trucks.
Okay.
We don't haul our own materials, bulk materials. I mean, we might take a few little things from the shop, a load here, a load of nines, or a load of 57s here and there, but we try to
Hmm.
have everything trucked with a trucking hire company. Um, Basically, bulk materials in, bulk debris out when they come, and try to rely on them. Basically, what I'm doing there is I'm buying their employees, so I don't have to hire a CDL driver and own a big quad axle dump truck. I'm hiring that, paying them to haul my stuff, and that's just one less employee that I have to have, and I can basically have as many trucks as I need on demand that way.
Hmm.
So that's
And
that's a big deal.
you don't have to absorb things like insurance and liability and all that other stuff into your overhead either.
Yeah, yeah, I've thought about
It's
having
just
my
sunk
own
cost.
dump trucks and things a bunch of times, but the math never works out. So it's definitely more cost effective just to hire that for me at the scale that I'm at right now. That could change
Hmm.
if we get bigger, but where we're at right now, it makes a lot of sense just to hire out dump trucks.
Very cool. So, in terms of the excavators that you have, you got the Encon steel wrist on there. Do you have that on both excavators?
Yeah, I've got two excavators now with the Encon tilt rotator.
Okay.
We've got a what is it, a 9 ton Takeuchi, a TB290 with the EC209 Encon with the EC oil, and then we have an 057 KX Kubota with EC206 Encon. And both of those have been really awesome for us. It's just a whole, basically, when you get one of those machines, it just fundamentally changes the way that you look at every project, the way that you look at completing every project. The flexibility that we have to just reach over and get material where we need it when we want it allows us to work a lot more efficiently, to do projects in different orders than we normally would have been able to do it in. It's just super efficient. Everything that you do on the job site just becomes easier. The way that you can just pick up a compactor and bring it all the way across the job site, set it down, grab a roll of fabric, and lay it right where the guys need it. It's a huge time saver, back saver. Just a really neat piece of equipment. Saves a ton of labor. Allows us just to keep on moving quickly.
Mm-hmm. And you're using that for basically everything, like you just said, like the excavation,
Yeah.
the moving materials around. You have I've seen a few of your posts with like a pretty sweet grade beam setup on there.
Yeah.
Is that something that you bought or you had fabricated to do the
Yeah, I fabricated a grade beam. I'm actually building one for the other excavator today, actually. So yeah, it's just a couple I beams and some C channel, and you can buy the brackets from Encon.
Okay.
You just weld them on there and make your own stuff. So we've made several tools on our own: a broom, grade beam. We have a jib boom for like slab pavers, like the Blue Grandes.
Yes, I saw.
We
That
can
was
we
a really
can
good
reach out
discussion.
about
Yeah.
reach out about 30 feet and just lay those from across the patio with that thing, which is really nice.
And these things like that boom and like the grade beam, you're making them. Well, you're making them from different parts. But is that something that you're welding these together, or you take it to like a local fabricator or weld shop and they're putting that stuff together for you?
I do it in my shop. I've got like a welder and welding table, plasma cutter, all that kind of stuff. I fiddle
Okay.
around with that sort of stuff. I'm not a fabricator, but I can hold my own with making my own
Couple,
stuff.
yeah, a
So
couple I beams together is
yeah, I've got a
starting to get.
mechanic that hangs around that he helps me out with a lot of stuff too and shows me how to do
Okay.
things. So it's fun. Build your own stuff here and there.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I see that I see how often you're using the excavator with the Encon and then the different attachments. Is that something that like one of the things you said at the beginning was you didn't want to be super dependent on labor, and you also found that like going the cheap labor route with like high school kids and whatever, there's a lot of turnover, a lot of turn and burn, as you said, and that kind of that stops any progression that you have as a business because you're constantly training and onboarding, training and onboarding, training and onboarding, and you're probably shorthanded like 20% of the time too, which isn't any good. Do you see a significant change as a result of having things like that for like excavation for large areas to grade out? Like, does it make it easier for you from a personnel management standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, what used to take two guys or three guys to go start a job, a lot of that prep work can be done with one guy now.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't need as many guys on the job site, for certain periods of the job. And I think that if you ask my guys, hey, you want to come work for me for a couple bucks more than what Jeremy's paying you, they'd probably tell you to screw off unless you had an Encon and all the equipment. So
They're
I
not
mean
busting
that
their
it
their
helps
backs all
out.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean they're not going to go back to doing things the hard way now. So you definitely. I think it helps with the retention. I think that you've got to kind of embrace this technology if you want to retain good people.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the strategy.
Um, I want to ask you about the Trimble software. A lot of people don't know about it, so I kind of want to take like an introductory approach to it. Trimble makes a lot of different construction software. They also acquired SketchUp several years ago from Google once it became a very popular design tool. And the question I have for you with regards to Trimble is there is one of their pieces of software, which, from what I can understand, you can correct me if I'm wrong, basically it's to facilitate the excavation because all of your grade points, all of your elevations across the site are in this software that communicates with a screen or some kind of monitor in the cab of your excavator so that you can be precise with all of your measurements. And essentially, from what I can see, that kind of reduces the labor input into the excavation phase of a project as well, because you don't have someone walking around with a grade stick and a laser level all day. Is that right?
Yeah, so there's Trimble Earthworks. There's two different versions of that. There's the 2D Trimble Earthworks, which is what we have, and then there's the 3D,
Okay.
which 3D you've got X, Y, and Z axis, and you can basically go anywhere on the job site and know where you're at horizontally and vertically, which is amazing. We've just now got the 2D, which allows us to hold grade wherever we're at. So I can benchmark off of let's say a back door or a threshold, push 0, and then say I want to go down 9 inches. I just plug that in, and I'm grading down 9 inches or digging down whatever I want. I can set that to a slope, bring a laser in to guide it over a long distance, however I want to do it. That's a really neat thing because it completely eliminates a person checking your grade, and I'm not going to over dig. I'm going to dig that base. Whatever I'm digging is going to be exactly perfect the first time. So you're saving a lot of material, you're saving a lot of time. It's a really neat setup there. So definitely, we just got that a few months ago, and it's definitely paying off. I really like that system. It's just makes you better all around.
And how does it work exactly? Like, is it working like on a data plan with like a cell signal or something? Is it satellite positioning? Like,
So maybe the GPS would be more like that. With the 2D
okay.
earthworks, basically there's sensors. There's like 3 or 4 sensors down the boom and the stick of your excavator and then the tilt rotator.
Okay.
And it works off, there's a little screen in there. So basically it's all kind of like just working within the machine. So you touch a point and you can dig with the machine, and you can move around only if you have a laser as a reference point, and there's a little
Okay.
laser swiper on the boom. So that's how the 2D system works. Now the 3D system works off satellite GPS, and you have a base station which you align and everything, and you have little receivers on your equipment, and that allows you to kind of work around the job site with no laser, no stakes, no nothing. We're not to that point yet, but definitely can try to move in that direction.
What makes you say you're not there yet? Is it
We just don't
a
have
cost
that.
thing? Is it
Yeah.
okay?
There's a significant cost. What's nice about Trimble though is that you start with the earthworks and say you've got 20 grand in that, and the next jump up is say another 40, 50 grand. It all builds off itself. It's the same monitor, it's the same
Adding
sensors. You
layers.
just
Okay.
you just add the GPS in. So that's really cool with that. It, you know, Tom Gardocki, the Dirt Ninja, he's the one that
Yep.
kind of turned me onto this. Him and Andy Molder showed me how to set this whole thing up, and Tom's got the GPS all set up, and he's got the Trimble Business Center and the rover and doing data collection and everything. It's really sweet setup. He's more into the larger scale excavation, but
Mm-hmm.
he and I have talked quite a bit about how it can be utilized in the stuff that we're doing on the residential side, and we're starting to kind of dabble with some of those Trimble data collectors and things right now to figure that whole workflow out. I
Mm-hmm.
think pretty soon we'll be able to go out, do a site analysis with a Trimble system, and then plug that into Trimble Business Center, bring that into our design software, push it back out to the machines and for the actual production stakeout and
Okay.
everything.
So
So
basically, like, use it to shoot your grades at the estimation stage,
yeah.
build out your design. That's, I guess that would be done in SketchUp then, or like you start with a 2D and then
Yeah,
Trimble
it
Earthworks
doesn't
and then.
actually work in SketchUp.
Okay.
That's what I thought too at first. There's a program called Trimble Business Center that seems to be the way to go. I'm not
Okay.
quite into that yet. I've just dabbled around in it a little bit, so I'm still trying to figure out my workflow get it from Trimble Business Center back into Dynascape, which is what I design in, and then
Okay.
I also use SketchUp. So moving it back and forth and then pushing it back out into the field for stakeout. So
Gotcha.
that's where I'm hung up right now. There's not a whole lot of people that have done it the way that I'm doing it, so it's hard to
Yeah, you
find.
don't have a
Maybe
lot of
somebody's
competition.
listening to this and they're like, "Oh, that's how I do it." Hey, give me a call. I'd love to pick your brain a little bit.
Yeah,
So
for sure. But that's a big part of the show too. Like we when I talk with the people who have been on, like later on, that they get a lot of DMs when the episode comes out because people have questions, and that's
right,
exactly what we want to do, right?
cool.
Um, the so how long have you been using the Trimble setup?
I've just had that for probably 2.5 months, maybe 3 months.
Okay, so brand new,
Yeah, yeah.
and but you see the benefits right away, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I dug a pool with it. I was the only guy there. I just dug it by myself. I had nobody check in the grade. I just dug the whole pool with a slope bottom and everything by myself
Yeah.
the first time. So I mean, tremendous labor savings right there. You save.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a day to dig the pool. I saved 10 man-hours not having a guy down there with a stick. So um, grading base, digging out base for patios. Um, yeah, everything that we've done is drainage.
Yeah.
There's always a drain tile involved when you're building a patio, so you're always just constantly using it.
So how has that changed the setup of your crews then? Because you said you're you plus four people.
Yeah,
Does that mean that you're ahead of the crews excavating and prepping, and then your crews come in and build?
I have done that. We haven't really gotten a total workflow to that yet.
Okay.
My guys, in the past, it's two guys show up and they start digging and basing in the patio. But yeah, what I'm thinking could work is one guy going out ahead and prepping a job, and then the guys
Mm-hmm.
show up, screed and lay pavers or start building wall, whatever. It doesn't always work out. It's not always feasible that way, but as much as you can start a job with just one or two guys, you don't want to show up on the first day and start laying out with four guys. It's
No,
really nice just to roll
you
up
got
there
people
with.
standing around watching.
Yeah. If you can start a job with one guy, that's ideal, and get it all prepped out, excavated, demoed, prepped, some infrastructure going in. It's kind of nice just to have one. You save those man hours because you're going to need them later on in the job when the detail work and cutting pavers and that sort of thing starts to happen.
What else would you add on the topic of excavation and equipment? Like what's something that maybe you find that people you talk to in the industry grossly underestimate or misunderstand about investing in equipment and software to help excavation?
Um, I don't know. There's always a few people that don't get it, and that's fine. Whatever. Most of the people that I talk to understand it, and they see what we're doing, and it's like, oh, that's a no brainer. This a lot of this stuff. Get it as fast as you can. You can start making more money. That's basically my philosophy. Is if you see something that's going to make your business better, save up the money and get it as soon as you possibly can and start utilizing it.
So you
So,
get started in that direction, the more you benefit from it.
yeah, just don't wait. Go after it and get it.
What is there something that you see that's like a common trait amongst the people who just don't get it, and they want to keep digging by eye, or they want to
Right.
like they don't want to trade. I've done it this way for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, works for me. Like what is it that doesn't seem to click for them that clicks for people like you?
I don't know. I don't notice a whole bunch of those guys. So, um, guys that have done it a certain way their whole life and don't want to spend the money, that's fine. I don't care. I
Yeah.
mean, that's your back, man. I mean, my back's not going to hurt, but
Yeah.
you're more than welcome to do what you want to do.
What are some of the it's like we talked about the grade beam. We talked about that boom that you made to hold the basically you're creating like a giant sling to move
Yeah.
your oversized slabs around. Is there
Hmm.
anything else that you've created or that you've been thinking about that was kind of a game changer for you or would be if you could figure it out?
Let's see. I'm sure I've got all kinds of crazy ideas with this stuff that we do. Um, Last year we built like a big steel pallet that has sides on it, and basically it's a big cage that I can lift up with a mini skid steer or any skid steer.
Okay.
And what it is it folds, the front folds down. It's a ramp, so you can bring your compactor, toolboxes, like all the random
Yeah.
crap that you throw in the back of your truck, and then you have
Yeah.
to put the
And then get
Bobcat
it.
bucket and then load it up and then take it to the back. Basically, it's just a
Okay.
big old cage. You just fork it in the back of your truck, grab it, go to the
Okay.
backyard, and you got all your
Same kind.
tools
Yeah.
rocking and
Kind of the same
rolling.
idea as like the people who use a dumpster to move their equipment around.
Yeah,
You got like one box, you bring it to the back, you drop it, take everything out, and they put everything back in.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, you want to get to the job site and you want to get working as fast as you can. You know, that time every morning of getting the tools out of the trailer, bringing them out
Mhm.
back, and then cleaning up at the end of the day, it's all wasted time. You want to just immediately, not, you can't always immediately, but as quickly as possible, get to work and actually start producing. So you want your guys to be producing as fast as possible. So setting up your shop, you know, in a nice, efficient manner to get people out the door and setting them up with the right tools like that, you know, it really helps out.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Um, is there anything else like that like I'm trying to think if I'm a contractor in a similar position to you, I have the skid steer, I have the excavator. I'm thinking about getting that tilt rotator. I'm thinking about the different ways that I could use it. I guess I'm asking the question kind of like what are all the things that you've figured out that you can use the equipment for that a lot of people don't stop and think about until they see it or they hear about it.
Yeah. What's cool about it, you know, the whole the Encon thing is that you're only limited with this thing by your creativity. So it's kind of an art. You know, you're always looking for different stuff you can do with it. It's kind of fun. It's just
Mm-hmm.
another creative outlet for me, really. So I mean, we're using it to plant trees. You can do all kinds of weird stuff with it that you wouldn't think of. And once you own one and you're out there working with it, you're like, oh, I don't really feel like getting out. I could probably pick that up and move it over there and twist my bucket just like this, and you
Mm-hmm.
know, it's amazing what you can do. It's really neat. So,
Yeah, like for
um,
real, you could spend a good 30, 45, even 60 minutes on your Instagram page just going
right,
through those different videos because it's awesome all the things you're doing with it,
yeah, it's
and to do
fun.
it all from the cab with the same machine all the time.
Right, right,
Do you have a
exactly.
preference for machines? Like I know you mentioned you have the Kubota, you have the Takeuchi. Um,
Um,
like is it just what works for you or
Yeah, I'm not. I don't really have like a brand that I really like. You know, there's different machines in each class that are like that seem to be like the best,
okay?
and then it all depends on your dealer and comes down to price sometimes too. So like the machines that I got were a really good deal, and each one of those is a really good machine in that class. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, I don't really have anything.
Are there things that you look for that like in Jeremy's world, like if there's a checklist, these are the top three or top four things that I need to have before I invest in a machine?
Um, you know, definitely you're going to be looking for the dealer. Is it a solid dealer that's pretty close to you? Um, you know, like there's a machine that we have, that Ditch Witch 1550.
Mm-hmm.
The dealer is like an hour away, and they're not that awesome to deal with, to be honest with you. But there's no other machine like it, so they've kind of got you. So you know,
Okay.
something like that machine, because that machine's the only mini skid steer that can really lift up like a full pallet of pavers or full
Mm.
pallet of sod, and it's a super productive little thing. So there's some things that you just kind of have to buy from whatever dealer is available. You want to look for a good dealer. Um, you know, you want to look at what machines are breaking. You know, what are other people, the reviews that it's had. You know, if there's a machine that everybody's like, dude, this thing breaks down constantly, you might want to stay away from that one. Pricing, that's huge too. I mean, there's certain brands out there that are basically the same machine that are priced $20,000-$30,000 higher because they got a certain sticker on them right now. So,
Okay.
you know, I'm looking for the best value too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
On the topic of the dealer, Like when you say you want someone that's solid, like what's solid mean? Is it service level? Is it the relationship with your account manager, your rep, or what is it?
Yeah, what you're looking for is service. Is this company going to keep up with you? If you have something break, are they going to have a mobile service guy out there with parts? Do they stock lots of parts, and how fast does their service team respond to you? That's the
Okay.
biggest thing. You don't want to have to be dragging your equipment to them. You want to make sure they've got mobile service. Pay for it too. I mean, it doesn't make sense to drag a piece of equipment and pay to truck it up there and go back and get it when you can just pay them a little bit extra to come out and fix it on site. If
Mm-hmm.
possible. I mean, some stuff obviously you can't do that,
Yeah.
but as much as possible, get it fixed on site and make sure that they've got lots of parts.
So
So
basically, you're looking at it from the time standpoint.
yeah,
You're trying to avoid downtime by having a dealer that can respond quickly and easily to you, that has parts in stock that will come out, mobilize, and solve your problem. You want a machine that is as durable as possible. That's why you want to check the reviews on breakdowns and things like that. And then you start looking at the pricing, because the first two are more important. You pay $10,000 more for a machine, but it's in the shop, 5 weeks out of the year. You're not making any money with it. It's costing you money, right?
exactly. Yeah, it's everything's about downtime. Because when you're running lean and you're trying to get a lot of work done with these pieces of equipment, you can't afford to have them down. So it's all about keeping these things up and running. The heated seat and the monitor are kind of the last things that I'm looking at. I'm looking for something that's going to be reliable.
All right. So number 4 is bells and whistles after.
Yeah, right.
They are nice though.
Yeah, yeah.
I know on one of our showcase projects, I got to drive the JCB teleskid with the telescopic boom,
Right.
and it was so hot that day. And the AC in that thing was amazing. The closed cab, plus like their boom. Well, I mean the bucket and everything. Like most skid steers, it's 2 arms
Yeah.
on the left and right. So like the bucket has to be down. Everything has to be a certain way so you can get in and out of the
Right.
machine. And you don't have a lot of visibility either, because the shoulders of the arms are blocking like left and right. The nice thing about this one is you have the one arm, and the way it's built, the shoulder is lower, so you actually have visibility over the arm, and you can see like the whole way around you, and you can get in and out very easily. Like the door opens, and like the bucket, things aren't in the way, so that was nice. But to have that AC, like it was probably the best AC I've ever had in the cab of a machine before. It was good.
Yeah, those things are pretty cool. How you get in from the side. It's just super easy in and out, very comfortable.
Yeah. Which skid steers do you have?
We've got a bunch of Bobcats right now. We've got the Ditch Witch mini skid steer.
Mm-hmm.
We just put in an order for a Kubota skid steer. And
Oh yeah,
yeah,
never driven one of those.
yeah, we demoed that. We've been demoing one and really like it. So it's got a ton of power, very responsive. In and out, it's easier to get in and out of than our Bobcats, just the way that the seat lap bar is. It's got a really nice door that goes up and down. Just everybody on my crew that came and demoed it, they got out of it and they said, wow, that's a really nice machine. I really like operating that. And I liked it too. So
hope the sales guy wasn't there to hear all that.
Yeah, right. No, yeah.
Big grins all around from the crew.
Right. No, he was not. We got a pretty good deal on it. So it's just like everything else. Who knows when it'll be here? But we got to order in for one.
Yeah.
So.
Is there any other advice you have for people with regards to selecting equipment or using equipment when it comes to building their business?
Not that I can think of offhand. I mean, it's one of those things where, you definitely want to, start out with, I like to pay cash for stuff. And, at first you're going to start out, if you're doing that, with some used stuff, and that's okay. Look for, if you're paying cash for stuff, you're not going to have a warranty. Try to stay away from the emissions stuff as best you can. So, it doesn't make, like, you think that the newer stuff is like the best thing out there, but realistically, if you can find some of these older units that are pre-emissions, you're probably better off from a reliability standpoint. If you're just starting out paying cash for some used equipment, once you start buying new stuff, the emission stuff is kind of a necessary evil, and it's kind of a pain in the neck, and they break down a
Yeah.
lot.
Is that I know it's dependent on like the state that you're in and whatever, but you're in Indiana. Um,
Ohio.
sorry, Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, are the are there emission standards for the equipment where you are
Oh, I think it's a
that make it a
national
little?
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's all of the equipment that's produced has to
Okay.
be tier 4 now, so you're not getting away from it. And if you're buying anything that's newer than, I don't know, like, I think the equipment they started doing like maybe 2012. So anything
Okay.
pre like 2012, you can get pre-emission stuff, which, yeah, that's nice. But
Okay.
it's
So
one of those things that's
basically, you can
harder
get
and harder
away
to
with it
find.
because it's like kind of grandfathered in because like
Oh, okay,
that's
yeah,
the way it's
no,
built, or
you can own old equipment,
yeah.
and you can run it until it dies. They're not gonna not allow you to run it because it doesn't have emissions on it. You just can't buy the stuff without emissions anymore.
Okay.
So I think like California, I think that's the only state where they're
Where there's the
cracking
same
down on,
legislation.
yeah, making people get rid of the old stuff or switch to
Okay.
all new emissions standards.
And then on the topic of buying, like I just want to like poke around on the point. Like you like to pay cash for your equipment. Um, did you ever consider like financing equipment, or is it a like is your business built that way that like you when you acquire things you pay cash, or is it like a personal thing? Like you just feel better when you don't have any debts you have to worry about. Like everything I own, it's paid outright, it's done.
Yeah, I mean, so at first I did have some debt. I did at least some equipment and stuff like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. The last few years I've switched over to trying to be debt free and just want to sleep a lot better at night and know that we can kind of go through any downturn, and whatever money we're making that money. So we switched and paid everything off and switched over to paying for cash for everything in the last few years. So um, yeah, it's just a lot easier to make money when you don't have debt, and that's how we want to be. It's how my wife and I want to be, is debt free, and that's where we're at with it. And I've got no, everybody's different. If it makes sense for you, if you want to grow your business and go into debt, that's fine. I don't care. That you can be a solid business with debt. There's ways to do
Mm-hmm.
that too. It's just this is a
Mm-hmm.
personal decision that we've made. So
Okay, that makes sense. Um, well, I think that covers everything for the topic of equipment. Um, with regards to like your business, you said that you did about 2 million last year in revenues, and you want to grow to 2.5 this year. How are you doing that?
Well, we're selling a lot of work and getting a lot of work done. So that's kind of how we're doing that. The growth. I think that by being a little bit more efficient this year with the newer technology, we added. My dad came on to work for us earlier this season, and so I think we're going to get a little bit more production. We're doing pools now. And the pools themselves are just a higher ticket item themselves.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we can do it. So we should be able to crank that little bit extra out. We'll see.
Okay. So it's really about changing what you're selling. You're not necessarily trying to do more work this year. It sounds like it's just you want higher value work this year.
Yeah, a little
Is
bit
that
of
right?
both.
A
Yeah,
little bit of both.
yeah. So definitely more work, and then basically we have to do about an extra $500,000 worth of work this year
Mm-hmm.
based on our budget. So
Okay.
I think it's feasible. We've
How
got
many projects do you do in a year?
I don't know. We probably do a couple a month, I'd say. So 25, 30, something like that. We do
Okay.
smaller projects and we do larger projects. So it's hard to say. Like some of our projects might be a quarter million, and some of them might be
Okay.
10 grand. So
On average, what do they look like? Like
most
total
of our
square footage
projects are
or
like kind of in that $50,000 to $75,000 range. Quite a few. I mean, once you throw in a pool, there's 100K right there, and then
well,
plus
that's
everything
it.
around it. But the 50 to 75 is kind of a sweet spot. We can kind of get in and out in a couple weeks and
Mm-hmm.
knock them out pretty fast.
So like I'm just doing some quick math here to see, like, if we say like the average is about 65. Oh, that wasn't right. So about, yeah, you'd have to be closer on that 35. Sorry, on that 75,000 per
Right.
job. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, at 75,000 per job, you need to do about 33 jobs. So
Yeah.
you get a couple of those pools in there, like you said, and you're there.
Yeah. I think we're pretty close. Or it worked out when I did the math and the budget, so we'll see.
That's
Yeah.
good. When you do, like, how do you do your budgeting? Do you have a specific software that you use,
Yeah.
or do you just have like a master spreadsheet?
We were on LMN for like, I don't know, 4 years, something like that, and we switched to Synced Up this year,
Okay.
which is very similar as far as the budgeting side goes.
So why
You're,
did you switch if it's so similar?
so the budgeting side's similar. The actual
Mm-hmm.
program itself is a lot more user friendly on the Synced Up side. It's
Mm,
a lot easier to kind of process the job from start to finish to get the estimate in. I can get the estimate out faster, and I can get it to, once it turns into a project, it's a lot easier to turn that into a project on the administrative side and then get that information onto my guy's phone in the field.
okay.
I mean, literally I could type an estimate while I'm talking to you right now, click one button, and all of a sudden my guys have all the information they need to do the project. They have, I can put the drawings, I can put before pictures.
Mm,
Um, it's been really nice that way. It's just a lot smoother. We're not printing out work orders, and
yeah.
LMN was just a little bit disconnected in that
That's
regards.
yeah.
It kind of all over the place. So I've enjoyed Synced Up quite a bit. Big fan of it, and I think there's that part that just it's smoother on the estimating side. Then you've got not it's not necessarily like a true job costing, but the job costing that it has kind of integrated, it's really easy to input because your guys are out there inputting their hours plus the material they use. So you can get a really nice picture of how you're doing on a project
Mm-hmm.
pretty easily with that. It's not super accurate because you're not actually putting like the invoices in from the projects and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
it's close
It's only as
enough.
accurate as the info that the
Yeah,
guys put in, but
right. And I think
yeah.
you can probably put invoices in and get real carried away with it, but for
Yeah.
what we need it for, it does a great job.
Yeah, I really like the job costing function because that's how you know, are your estimates good, or your crews like as you think they are,
Yeah,
and it helps just kind of give you that up to the minute, or as close to up to the minute as possible, kind of like status check all the time.
yeah. Especially hours, labor hours. We're constantly watching that, making sure that the jobs are going smooth, that we're not going over hours.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, man. Well, I think we've done the turn of pretty much everything. I really like the approach that you have, where like you're looking at the equipment as a means to an end. If it helps you get the job done faster, if it helps you get more work done in less time, if it makes you a little more autonomous in terms of the labor market and how that fluctuates, and right now it's a low spot, so it's hard to find good quality people, but you're not too handcuffed by that because of the investments that you've made. And the fact that you really stay on top of your numbers so that you are in a position to then invest appropriately when it's time, like that's what you need to do. You throw in some nice design ability, you throw in some good quality builds, and a nice little sales approach, and you've got yourself a good business.
Yeah. I think that's you don't have to be this huge company with 20 guys, 30 guys, whatever, and all the headaches and the stress. You can stay small, and in today's world, you can do really well just being a
Mm-hmm.
really tight, small company, which is cool.
That's awesome, Jeremy. If people have questions for you about any of the stuff that we talked about here today, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
My Instagram is J squared outdoor, and you can send me a message on there if you'd like to. I'd be happy to help you out.
All right. Awesome. Well, this was super informative. I really liked hearing about everything that you're doing. I like also that you're not scared to experiment with different things like the Trimble Earthwork software. I think it's pretty cool. I'm curious to hear back from you in a little bit. Like once you have a year or two under your belt with the software, to see like what impact have you seen long term.
Yeah, I think
I think
once
it'll
we
be
get
really
that
cool to
dialed in,
follow up
it's
on.
going to be pretty cool.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to add before we sign off here?
No, man, I think I've said it all.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for joining us on the show. And until next time, guys, this has been Alex from Tackle Block, and we'll see you next week. Work hard and pave harder. See you guys. That's that.
Cool.
That is that. Is there do you have a bit of time?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was curious to ask you because I know that you were using a lot of Unilock before, and you've kind of like been switching over to more and more Teco. Is there a particular reason for that? Is it a relationship thing? Is it a product thing? A quality thing?
I think so. What got me first was just the colors that you've got and like that blue grande. We're trying to do all like big slabs because I can lay with the equipment. I mean, every job I design, it's all slabs because I'm trying to make money and I'm trying to go fast. So the blue grande with that gray nickel has been a sweet one because around pools it's a little bit lighter color. Unilock has that opal, but like it's a nightmare because it gets super muddy and dirty and you can't keep it clean, that sort of thing. And then we've had major quality issues with the Beacon Hill XL.
Really? Like what?
Soft, pitty. I mean, every pallet we've got at least 5 or 6 pavers that we can't use anymore. I mean, it's pretty bad.
Really?
Yeah, and I mean, Unilock's cool. They're a good company, and they'll take care of us as far as like the cost of the pavers. But it's super labor intensive to go back out and pull all these slabs up and repalletize them and get new ones out there. You know, you order what you need for the job, and then now I've got to wait for my dealer to go pick up at Unilock and grab another pallet and bring them down. So yeah, we've had a lot of issues with that, and it gets old. So
no, that's unfortunate.
yeah. But,
is there anything else?
No, I mean, I'm
It's really that.
the product is what I'm looking at there. And actually, Greg's been awesome to work with lately too. So,
Yeah.
I really like him. So, and I have a good Unilock rep too, but it's, I like him, but it's just the product, it's not very good anymore. So we just had a lot of issues with it.
Yeah.
So
I always found the big difference being the walls. I don't see a lot of walls in your projects, but you're kind of in like a flat part of the world too.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not one to sell seat walls and stuff like that. If I'd rather
you're not doing that for the machine.
Yeah, I'd rather lay the patio and put some plants around there to I can do it with the machine too. I'm all about just like making the jobs as efficient to install as possible. So
you see a difference in your profitability since you really went all in on the machines?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been really good. We can get about a 30% net margin, pretty good on that stuff. So that's good, man. We're rocking and rolling and knocking jobs out left and right. It allows us to make a lot of money.
That's good, man. Good for you.
Yeah.
I got a question for you about Showcase. I don't know if you were able to make it out to one this year because we didn't come to Ohio this year.
Yeah, I did. I missed it. I wanted to go. I think you had one in Indianapolis, but I didn't get to make it.
Yeah. Regardless, doesn't change the nature of this question. I'm curious. Have you been to a Showcase before?
Like I've been to several of them. Whenever they're around, I try to go.
Okay, so you know what the deal is. I wanted to know because we're believe it or not, like we're already planning for next year. That's what we do at this time of year. We're just like we're putting it all together because we got to film everything for the show. And we got to do that in basically a month and a half, 2 months. I'm curious, like from your perspective, you're in your mid 30s. You've been running a business for a few years now. You know what works. You know what you know where you're going, and it's working for you. How could we be of service to you with our shows? Like, what do we need to cover? What kind of questions do you have that like, gee, I wish someone would try to do things this way, or someone could explain to me this thing?
Yeah.
Is there anything that comes to mind?
I I'm just trying to think of like, let's see. So like from my standpoint, what would help me at a showcase? Um, the big thing now is all like this nitro sand and all these different products that are coming out in that regard. I don't know if you guys are doing
Mm-hmm.
like nitro sand or easy joint or whatever, but
Yeah,
like,
we have nitro.
um, the poly sand has been like the bane of my existence for years now. And so we're trying to switch everything over to, larger joints that we can use this nitro sand on every project. And I think, learning more about that, like better installation techniques on that kind of stuff, would be really helpful because we're just figuring that out, trying to figure out what the fastest way to put that stuff is.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, Obviously, like I'm sure for everybody else, like all the vacuum lifting equipment and that sort of thing is a big deal. It would be cool to learn about. We're kind of
Yeah.
there's probably
We
stuff
have
that I don't know
vacuum.
about, but like
Yeah.
I'm always trying to figure out the easiest way to lift something. So I think the joining is, and understanding like which pavers work with the nitro sand and which ones don't from a design standpoint when you're putting that in is big.
Okay.
Um, you know, I mean, I think for your guys' sake to be pushing that stuff. I mean, that's what people hate is the sand. That's where the maintenance
Yeah.
is. It's not the pavers. The pavers last forever with the face mix and
Mm-hmm.
everything. It's the issues are always the sand. So like
Mm-hmm.
that nitrous sand, man, it just makes my life a lot
Yeah.
easier not getting those callbacks.
So you don't care you're paying like double the price per unit because it just works
Yeah,
and you don't have to come
it
back.
takes twice as long to install. I literally, if I sold a job with poly sand, once I got to that point where I realized that nitro sand was so good, I covered the cost and just did it
Yeah.
anyways because they're gonna have a better job and they're not gonna call me
Yeah.
back. So
Well, that's it. Like the callback eats up whatever savings you had anyway.
yeah. Not that I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that we warranty like the poly sand to an extent like,
No,
oh,
but
it's
like,
dirty, but it just looks bad. They have people coming
yeah.
over and seeing it and they're like, oh, who did this job? It kind of looks a little dingy.
Yeah.
I'd rather people come over and see that nitro sand and the sharp looking clean patio. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, that's one of the things. So like my house here is para, and the nitro doesn't go in those
yeah,
joints. Those joints are too tight. So like I have exactly that. Like even though I know how to sweep sand. Like
right,
my dad has been in Alliance for like 10 years. Like I know
yeah,
what I'm doing with poly sand. I still have areas where like I'm pulling weeds and it's not even a year old.
right,
And it's just like
yeah.
you just look at it and you're like, fuck.
Yeah,
Like,
it sucks. I mean, you go back to
yeah,
jobs and you're like, damn it, I know we did a nice job, but it just looks crappy.
yeah. And
Um,
like it's easy to say like, oh, we'll just blow it out and put new sand, but like blow it out and where do I put all the sand I blew out?
yeah,
Like if there's 10 bags of sand, that's 10 bags of sand I have to take somewhere.
right,
I
right.
live in the city, so it's like it's it's one of those things like just do it right the first time and like don't come back.
Yeah, and now that we have these products that you can do it right. Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the best way to do it before was to just sweep regular sand in and seal it. But then you have
Seal
like
it.
if you have efflorescence, if you're finishing the job and the weather's not right, I mean, then they've got sand washing. So you just had to poly it and be done and send somebody else
Yeah.
in there to seal it. So I mean, it's definitely like if I could get everybody to switch over to that, that's definitely the way to go. With
Mm-hmm.
installation, I would love to figure out like a really nice, efficient way to get it because it takes
It
forever.
feels long. Yeah.
Yeah,
It feels like you're not making any progress. You're just hosing and sweeping and
yeah.
hosing and sweeping. You're like, what the hell am I doing here?
1,000 square foot job. I'm just budgeting 2 guys a day to do the nitro sand. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
you know.
Okay. All right. So how to do it faster or better.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I think.
Yeah. Anything else?
Man, I can't think
Design
of.
wise, like inspiration wise, like do you want to know what trends are out there? Do
Yeah,
you want to know like how people are selling jobs, how
yeah.
they market themselves? Like
The sales stuff would be huge. Those guys, Josh and Dwayne. I think that they were like traveling around with you guys.
yeah.
Whatever that stuff that they're doing, their sales course is amazing. I've been listening to their podcast and stuff. They've kind of
Mm-hmm.
got a lot of stuff figured out with like the process of how to bring a customer in and then how to interview them not once but twice before you go out and meet them. And then they're talking about getting guys with 75% closing rate. So like,
Yeah.
for contractors like me, like that's huge. Like if we can get a better process on the sales side, then I don't have to, I can spend more time on the field making money and not chasing around leads. So,
Mm.
like the stuff that they're doing would be pretty cool to, maybe if they could do like, or you guys could do a presentation on how to vet people right off the front end.
Yeah. If I had that as a course on hardscaper.com, would that be of interest to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Like we have a digital marketing one
Okay.
right now that um well, a lot of people aren't looking at right now because they feel like they don't need to market their business,
Right.
but like I mean, if anyone's studying economics, just look at the inflation right now and we know what's going to happen next. So like you got to know how to market yourself.
Yeah.
And that one was put together by a company that just does contractor marketing.
Okay.
All they do is digital marketing for contractors. That's their entire business. So it's that's why I was curious. Like if we had maybe them or someone else like put together a course that is like how to build a sales process that yields this kind of results for your company, that's there for free on the
Oh
website.
yeah, that'd be huge.
Yeah,
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 I think that'd be great. And I have a sales girl that she's been working for me for years, and
yeah.
you know, and she's just, it's hard for me to train her, and so giving her that, if I could just say, hey, you got to watch this class, you know,
And then let's
you know,
talk about it and see how we apply it, kind of
right,
stuff.
yeah. So
Yeah.
helping guys like me train people. I've got another guy that I'm training right now, and it'd be nice to have like a resource like that. I was thinking about buying
Mm-hmm.
their class and sending these guys to it and having them trained. So
Yeah. Yeah, like even so like the job costing and estimating class that we have on the website, Wes from Synced Up built for us.
okay,
So like it's is it like it's not like days and days, it's a couple hours, but it gives you everything you need to get started. And he built like a couple free templates that you can download and use
right,
instead of using Synced Up. And basically it's like learn how to do this stuff first. And then if you see like this works and you need to do more of it, well, then you can invest in like the software.
yeah,
And I would see like kind of the same thing with a sales course where it's like this is the foundation. Like you need to know and understand and be able to do this. And this can be done like learned in a couple of hours. And then if you want to go like even deeper, then you would go to like whoever made the course. You would go to them for like more specific consulting or whatever. So that's like more tailored directly to your business. But
yeah, that would definitely be cool. You could get those guys
yeah,
to do that, and it's a sales funnel for them, and they could give you kind of a basic,
that's it.
basic
Win-win,
course. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
We get people coming to the site, which helps us because everyone who accesses the site does sign up for the site. So we know who's visiting the site, which
Hmm.
helps us, then reach out to them later on. It helps the user, obviously, because they get the knowledge that they want. And it helps the companies that partner up with us because then they get leads for their sales funnel.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like win-win-win.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that for sure.
Cool. All right. Is there anything I can do to help you today?
Man, not that I can think of right off the bat. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I definitely
All right.
appreciate the offer.
No worries, man. Well, listen, I really appreciate you coming on, and look at that. In 1 hour, we've
Yeah.
wrapped the whole thing up.
Awesome.